It's Bible Storytime.
The beginning. In the beginning, the world was empty. Darkness was everywhere. But God had a plan. God separated the light from the darkness. "Let there be light," he said, and the light turned on. He called the light day, and he called the darkness night. This was the end of the very first day. Then God said, "I will divide the waters." He separated the waters in the clouds above from the waters in the ocean below. He called the space between them sky. This was the end of the second day. Next, God rolled back the waters, and some dry ground appeared. He made plants of many shapes and colors. He made mountains, hills, and valleys. This was the end of the third day. God put a shining sun in the sky for daytime. He put a glowy moon and twinkling stars in the sky for nighttime. This was the end of the fourth day. On the fifth day, God made squishy fish and squiggly creatures to live in the ocean. Then God made birds to fly across the sky. On the sixth day, God made animals to creep, crawl, hop, and gallop. Then, from the dust, God made the most wonderful creature of all, a person. God named him Adam. On the seventh day, God rested. Adam and Eve. God had planted a beautiful garden for Adam in a place called Eden. A river flowed through the garden. Adam loved his new home. His job was to name all the animals and care for the garden. Adam loved all the animals, but he could not find a friend that was just right for him. So, God created a woman. Adam named her Eve. She was just right for Adam. Adam and Eve loved each other. Together, they took care of God's garden. The sneaky snake. Many trees grew in the Garden of Eden. God told Adam and Eve, "You may eat the fruit from any tree, except for one. Never eat the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil." Now, there was a sneaky snake in the garden. One day, the snake saw Eve near the special tree. It hissed, "Did God really tell you not to eat the fruit from this tree?" The snake wanted Eve to disobey God. It said, "You should try some of this tasty fruit. If you eat it, you will be like God. You will be able to tell the difference between good and evil." The fruit looked tasty. Eve remembered what God had said, but she ate the fruit anyway. Then Eve gave some to Adam. He took a bite too. As the sun was going down, Adam and Eve heard God walking through the garden. He was looking for them. Adam and Eve hid among the trees. They were afraid. "What have you done?" God asked. Did you eat the fruit from the forbidden tree? Adam said, Yes, but Eve gave it to me. Eve said, Yes, but the snake tricked me. God told the snake, Because of what you did, you will always crawl on your belly. Then he told Adam and Eve, Because you disobeyed me, you can no longer live in the garden. Adam and Eve left the garden. God placed angels and a flaming sword to guard the entrance. Adam and Eve would not be allowed in the garden again. Joseph's colorful robe. Joseph was one of Jacob's 12 sons. Jacob loved him more than all of the other sons. Jacob made Joseph a colorful robe. His brothers were jealous. They wanted nice robes too, and they wanted to be loved as much as Joseph was loved. Joseph had a dream. He told his family, We were bundling grain from the field. Your bundles of grain bow down to mine. Then Joseph had another dream. He said, This time the sun and moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me. His father asked, Does this mean our family will bow down to you someday? The brothers were even more angry. They threw Joseph into a dry well. Along came some traders. The brothers sold Joseph to them as a slave. They lied to their father and said Joseph had been killed by a wild animal. But God was with Joseph. Pharaoh's dreams. The traders took Joseph to Egypt. He was thrown into jail, but he did nothing wrong. Joseph trusted God to help him. He made friends with some of the prisoners. One of them had been a wine taster for Pharaoh. Pharaoh was the leader of Egypt. The wine taster said, Last night, I had a dream. I was picking grapes and squeezing them into Pharaoh's cup. Then I put the cup in his hand. What does this mean, Joseph? Joseph answered, You will be Pharaoh's wine taster again. Once you are free, please don't forget about me. Help me get out of jail, too. A few days later, the wine taster's dream came true. He got out of jail and became Pharaoh's wine taster once again. But he forgot about Joseph. Later, Pharaoh had two strange dreams. In one dream, he saw 7 heavy cows and 7 skinny cows. The skinny cows ate up all the heavy cows. In another dream, Pharaoh saw 7 healthy plants. Then he saw 7 dried up plants. The dried up plants ate all the healthy plants. Pharaoh was confused. Pharaoh's wise men were confused too. Then the wine taster remembered Joseph. He told Pharaoh that Joseph could explain his dreams. With God's help, Joseph told Pharaoh what his dreams meant. For the next 7 years, plenty of food will grow. For 7 years after that, not enough food will grow because there will be no rain. Pharaoh said, Joseph, you are a very wise man. I will make you a ruler over Egypt. Joseph saves his family. For the first 7 years, Joseph was in charge of gathering extra food for the people of Egypt. That way, when hardly any crops grew, there would still be plenty to eat. The 7 bad years began, and people in other countries had no food at all. Even Joseph's family did not have enough to eat. So, Joseph's father sent his sons to Egypt to buy some food. When the brothers arrived in Egypt, they went to Joseph and bowed down to him. They did not know he was their brother, but Joseph knew. Joseph sold them some food. Then the brothers left to go home. Sometime later, they returned to buy more food. Just as Joseph had dreamed, they bowed down to him again. Finally, Joseph told them, "I am your brother." His brothers were afraid. But Joseph told them not to be afraid. God meant it for good. He had a special plan for me, he said. They all hugged. Joseph's brothers rushed home. They told their father what had happened. Jacob was so happy to hear that Joseph was alive. The whole family moved to Egypt. Noah's Ark. After Adam and Eve left the garden, many people were born. Those people kept doing bad things, and they forgot about God. Except Noah. Noah loved God. God was sad that everyone but Noah forgot about him. He told Noah about his plan to start over. "Make yourself an ark," God said. "Here's how." So Noah and his family began working on the ark. When it was done, God said, "Take your family and 2 of every animal into the ark." Animals creeped, crawled, hopped, and galloped onto Noah's new boat. After everyone was inside, the rain began to fall, and fall, and fall. The ark rocked this way and that way on the rising water. Finally, the rain stopped. Water covered everything. Everyone inside the ark was safe. Noah and his family were very happy. One day, Noah sent a dove to find land. It flew and flew, but never found any. So, it came back. 1 week later, Noah sent the dove out again. This time, it brought him an olive leaf. Noah cheered. It must have found land. The ark finally came to rest on the top of a mountain. God told Noah to leave the ark. Noah and his family praised God. God put a beautiful rainbow in the sky. It was a sign of his promise to never flood the whole earth again. Jonah and the Big Fish. Jonah was a prophet of God. One day, God told Jonah, "Go to the big city of Nineveh. Tell them to stop doing bad things." But Jonah ran away. He did not want to go to Nineveh. Instead, he got on a boat to sail across the sea. God sent a big storm to stop Jonah. The sailors on the boat were afraid. They thought the boat was going to sink. Jonah told the sailors, "My God has sent this storm. If you throw me into the water, the sea will become calm again. So the sailors threw Jonah into the raging sea. Instantly, the sea became calm. Just then, Jonah saw a big fish coming. Oh! The fish swallowed Jonah. For 3 days and nights, Jonah was inside the fish. He prayed to God, "Please forgive me." Then God told the fish to spit Jonah onto dry land. God told Jonah a second time, "Go and tell the people of Nineveh to stop doing bad things." This time, Jonah obeyed God. The people in Nineveh were sorry for doing bad things, so God forgave them. Daniel and the Lions. Darius became the new king of Babylon. Daniel was his chief helper. The king's other helpers did not like Daniel. They said to the king, "You are such a wonderful king. You should make a new law that for the next 30 days, everyone must pray only to you. If they disobey, they will be thrown into the lion's den." King Darius made the new law, but Daniel kept praying to God because Daniel loved God. The king's helpers caught him praying. They told King Darius, "Now you must throw Daniel into the lion's den." The king knew he had been tricked, but he had to obey his new law. Daniel was thrown into the lion's den. He was not afraid. He knew God would take care of him. King Darius told Daniel, "I hope your God will save you." That night, the king could not sleep. He was too worried about Daniel. At sunrise, the king hurried to the lion's den. "Has your God saved you from the lions?" he called. "Yes," answered Daniel. "My God sent his angel to protect me." So Daniel returned to the palace. Then King Darius ordered everyone to honor and respect God. David and Goliath. The Philistines were enemies of God. Their army came to fight King Saul's army. A giant soldier named Goliath yelled, "Bring out your best soldier to fight me. If your strongest soldier defeats me, we will be your slaves." He boomed. "If I defeat him, you will be our slaves." King Saul's soldiers were afraid. They did not want to fight the giant. Meanwhile, young David was taking food to his brothers. They were soldiers in King Saul's army. When David reached the camp, he saw Goliath. David heard the giant's challenge. "I'm not afraid to fight the giant," said David. King Saul called for David and told him, "You cannot fight the giant. You are too young." David replied, "God will be with me." King Saul gave his armor to David, but it was big and heavy. David wasn't used to wearing armor. David went to a nearby stream and picked up 5 stones. He stood before Goliath. The giant laughed at him, but David didn't care. He said, "I come before you in the name of the Lord who rules over all." David put a stone in his sling and ran toward the giant. Then he let the stone fly. It hit Goliath's forehead, and he fell to the ground. The Philistines saw that their hero was dead. They ran away. The brave queen. Esther was Jewish. That means she was an Israelite. She lived in the land of Persia with her older cousin Mordecai. The king of Persia needed a new queen. He announced, "Bring me the most beautiful women from all over my kingdom." Esther was one of the women sent to the palace. When the king met Esther, he chose her to be his queen. Haman was the king's chief helper. He hated the Jewish people. They were God's people. Haman wanted everyone to bow down to him. Mordecai refused to bow down to Haman. Mordecai will only bow down to God. Haman went to the king. He said, "The Jews are bad people. You should sign a law that will help me get rid of them." So the king signed the new law. God's people were in great danger. Mordecai heard about the new law. He ran to tell Esther, "You must save yourself and the rest of God's people. Perhaps God has made you the queen for this reason." So Esther came up with a plan. It would be very risky for her. Esther invited the king and Haman to a special dinner. Then she asked the king, "Why does Haman want to get rid of me?" The king was surprised. She said, "I am Jewish. Haman tricked you into signing a new law that would get rid of all the Jews." The king told his guards, "Arrest Haman." Then he made Mordecai his new chief helper. He told Queen Esther, "I will make a new law that will keep you and your people safe." God used Esther to save his people. Baby Jesus is born. Mary loved Joseph. Mary and Joseph were going to be married soon. Joseph lived in Nazareth, but his family lived in Bethlehem. A new leader named Caesar ordered all people to go back to their homeland. He wanted to count all the people in his kingdom. So Mary and Joseph went to Bethlehem. Mary was going to have her baby soon. When they arrived in Bethlehem, they looked for a safe place to sleep, but all the inns were full. Finally, a man was able to help them. He said, "I don't have any rooms left, but you are welcome to sleep in the stable." Joseph made a warm place for Mary to rest. While they were there, little baby Jesus was born. Mary wrapped Jesus in strips of cloth and gently laid him in a manger. Jesus feeds thousands. Jesus and his disciples were tired. They needed a quiet place to rest. So they got into a boat and pushed off from shore. A crowd followed the boat. Over 5,000 people had come to see Jesus. Even though he was tired, Jesus wanted to help them. He climbed out of the boat and he began to bless and heal many people. Later that day, the disciples said to Jesus, "It is getting late. These people should go home and eat dinner." Jesus replied, "We can feed them." See if anyone has any food to share. The disciples found one boy. He had 5 loaves of bread and 2 small fish. Jesus said, "Bring the boy to me." The disciples asked, "How will so little food feed this many people?" Jesus said, "You will see. Have the people sit down." Then Jesus took the bread and gave thanks to God. His disciples gave bread and fish to everyone. To their surprise, 12 baskets were left over. Mary and Martha. Mary, Martha, and their brother Lazarus were friends with Jesus. One day, Jesus came over to visit. Mary sat at his feet and listened to him for a long time. Meanwhile, Martha was busy cooking and cleaning. There was so much to do. The longer Mary listened to Jesus, the madder Martha got. She said, "I am busy in the kitchen while Mary is doing nothing. Jesus, please tell my sister to help me." Martha whined. "Martha, Martha," said Jesus, "you should not be upset. Mary has chosen what is better. She is listening to me." The lost sheep. Some people were wondering who was most important to God. So Jesus told them a parable. Think about a shepherd. What does he do? He watches over his sheep. He gives them plenty of food, and he gives them plenty of water. He counts them up to make sure they are all there. If one is lost, he looks for it. He looks in the barn. He looks near the stream. He looks in the hills. He looks everywhere. The shepherd does not give up. At last, he finds the little lost sheep. He carries the sheep back. He calls his friends together and says, "Let's celebrate. My lost sheep has been found." Then Jesus said, "God loves every one of his children like a shepherd loves his sheep. When one of them sins, it's like a sheep that has gone astray, and God is very sad. But when the person turns away from sin and comes back to God, he is very, very happy. He celebrates like a shepherd who has found his lost sheep." Jesus calms the storm. Jesus and his disciples got into a boat. They wanted to cross the sea. Jesus took a nap. The waves gently rocked the boat back and forth. Suddenly, a great storm came up. Waves splashed over the boat. Winds whipped around the disciples. They woke Jesus up and shouted, "The boat is sinking! Don't you care?" Jesus asked, "Why are you so afraid? Don't you have any faith at all?" Then Jesus told the storm to stop. Right away, it was calm. The disciples were amazed. They said to each other, "Who is this man Jesus? Even the wind and the waves obey him." A short man. People crowded the streets to see Jesus. Zacchaeus wanted to see too. but he was too short. So he climbed up a tree. As Jesus was passing by, he looked up and said, "Zacchaeus, come down. I want to go to your house." Zacchaeus scrambled down the tree. Zacchaeus was a tax collector. His job was to get the tax money from the people and give it to the king. Nobody liked him. He was surprised but happy that Jesus wanted to come to his house. A crowd of people stood outside the house. They grumbled, "Why is Jesus in there?" Zacchaeus told Jesus, "I will give money to the poor, and I will pay back anyone I have cheated. In fact, I will give them back more money than I took." Jesus was happy that Zacchaeus was going to make things right. You did a great job with reading today. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of new books weekly.